All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Kakadash, Barakatham to the elders and apostles, for Akim Akwaf, I say Shalom. And the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Ba'Shem, and the name of Mashiach Kabashai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Lashwan Kadash tongue. And I say Barakatham once again to the elders, apostles, for Akim Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy updates as of March the 12th, 2025 on this Wednesday afternoon. And this is a news article from Arab News, and it reads, it says, humiliated Palestinian victims of Israel's sexual abuse testify at UN. Experts and advocates who testified Tuesday spoke of a systematic trend of sexual violence against Palestinians in detentions. Right, we've been seeing a rising tension between what's been going on over there in the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian territory, the West Bank, and tensions between, the Israel Defense Force against the resistance of the Palestinians. It says financial reform plans can unlock foreign support for Lebanon, the IMF says. Right, because, Lebanon, they've been going through hard economic hardships, in recent years, and as recently as well, too. They've been going through wars, escalations, tensions, and seditions, and economic woes as well too. As I had a side note to that, it says more arrests reported in the Israeli West Bank, right? Because you've been having heavy raids from the Israel Defense Force targeting those Palestinians over there in the West Bank as tensions are continuing to rise throughout the years, as recently as well too. And for the past 3 or 4 days, almost close to a week, we've been having heavy tensions been increasing over there in Syria, especially the Hassad loyalists. It says this is a news article, and it reads from Arab News. It says at least 1,383 civilians killed in a Syrian violence, and new monitoring tool reports. It says the civilians were killed in an execution by security forces and allied groups. The latest deaths were recorded in the coastal province of Latinica, Tarsus, and Haman, and at least 1,383 civilians, and a vast majority of them outfits were killed in a wave of violence that crippled Syria's Mediterranean coast, a war monitor said Wednesday. The Senior Observatory for Human Rights said the civilians were killed in executions by security forces and allied groups after the wave of violence broke out last week into the coastal heartland of the Al-War, minority to which tops the President Bashar Assad's belonging. The British-based observatory added that even as the violence subdued, the total was still rising as bodies continued to be discovered. Many of the farmland in their homes. The latest deaths were recorded in the coastal province of Latonica and in Tarsus in the neighboring central province of Harmana. And it says it accused its security forces and killed groups of participating in the field execution before displacement and burning homes and with no legal materials. The violence erupted on Thursday when the clashes broke out after a government loyal to Assad staged attacks on new security forces. At least 231 security personnel were killed in the ensuing clashes, according to their officials total. The observatory says 250 pro-Assad fighters were killed. The UN human rights officials said it has documented summary of executions that appears to have been carried out on a scheduled basis. The interim president, Ahmad al-Shara, who led the Sunni Islamic groups Hadiyatah and Tirad al-Sham HTS, has topped Assad and has vows to persecute those beyond the bloodshed of the civilians and set up a fact-finding committee. Bring up that scripture, Luke 21, verse 25. And this is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25, and it reads, it says, and there shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars upon the earth, discretion of nations will perplex the seas which born. As we've been seeing, the heavy clashes within the last week been taking place over there in Syria. And this is Second Esdras, chapter 9 and verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars people the world, while we're going to be seeing more earthquakes and more uproars people the world, as we're seeing in our world today. Second Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 14. Yep, this is Second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Second Esdras 15, verse 15. For the sword and destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Right, and that's what we've been seeing the Hassad loyalties going against different groups, and heavy clashes been heating up over there in Syria. And they claimed the lives of 1,383 people as I was reading that news article. And right along with the other seditions and uprisings that we see in our world today. It says, for the sword, the destruction draweth nigh, one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Second Esdras 15, verse 16, for there should be sedition among men, invading one another. They should not regard their kings or their princes, and of course their actions stand in power, right? As we're seeing, due to the unrighteous decrees and sentences rise up against their leaders in power. They look at it as unrighteous decrees. And this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 3 and verse 8. And a time to love, and a time of HATE, and a time of war, and a time of peace. Right, and these are times living in modern day biblical signs and signs of times. And we're going to see that increasing category of the HATE is going to increase in the time of war. You know, wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, on top of that as well, too. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. Right, so modern day kingdoms being divided against modern day kingdoms, which we are seeing. St. Mark, verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand, which we're seeing right now. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right. The pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force, Houthi rebels going against the Israel Defense Force. These are signs of wars, rumors of wars. Russia-Ukraine situation. That's wars, rumors of wars. Iran versus Israel. Those are wars, rumors of wars. Let's see. Pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. And all these different nuclear escalations that we're seeing building up that are increasing. So those are signs of wars and rumors of wars. China versus North Korea. Let me rephrase that. North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, the United States. Those are wars and rumors of wars. Iran, China, and Russia doing annual military exercise drills. Those are wars and rumors of wars of the ongoing intentions that they had towards the West and the Western countries. Those are signs of wars and rumors of wars, which is only going to continue to increase. Russia versus NATO, Russia versus the Western countries. Those are signs of wars and rumors of wars, which is going to build up more and more and more. Matthew 24, verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Why is it going to come to pass, but it's not going to end just yet? Matthew 24, verse 7, if a nation shall rise against nation. Right, that's when we're seeing nation against nations. Houthi rebels going against the Israel Defense Force. The pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. Iran going against the Israel Defense Force as well, too. The Russia-Ukraine situation. China versus Taiwan. China versus the Philippines. North Korea versus South Korea. Japan, the United States. That's what you call nation against nation. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right on top of that, we're going to be seeing increasing famines, increasing pestilence, increasing earthquakes in diverse places, increasing nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and increasing wars and rumors of wars. It's only going to continue to increase and build up. Because, you know, we're living in modern day biblical signs and signs of times. Right, as it says again, 1,383 civilians were killed in Syria by this new monitoring total reports. It says a security forces loyalists to the interim Syrian governor drive past a burnt car at a checkpoint previously held by supporters of disposing President Bashar Assad in the town of Hemenia. in the coastal province of Latinica on March the 11th, 2025, from the AFP. It says, Ukraine Zelensky says a 30-day ceasefire could be used to draft peace plan. Zelensky says in Judea meeting and has helped de-escalate tensions between the U.S. and Ukraine after White House clash between him and the president Trump last month by Reuters as of March the 12th, 2025. It says the UN says that United Arab Emirates Gargash will deliver Trump's letter to Tehran. Trump said last week that he has sent a letter urging Iran to engage in talks of a new nuclear deal, and that comes with the I would say like day before yesterday that Iran rejected the phone call and the talks between the nuclear deal between both sides because of the previous rhetoric that Trump has issued towards Iran and imposing maximum pressure to use sanctions on the oil from Iran and the amending tensions between both sides and Iran versus Israel on top of that as well too. Oh yeah, bring up that First Thessalonians. This is First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, so destruction come upon them, as a terrible woman child they shall escape. It says Israel conforms release the 5 Lebanese detainees. Look up some more news articles. Check out some more prophecy updates from different news articles, news websites. It says Putin visits Kursk region for the first time since Ukraine's inclusion. And this is a recent news article. It says Ukrainian forces encircle Kursk regions, Russia's top general says. From March the 12th, 2025, and it reads from RT.com. It says 86% of Kursk region's territory previously held by Ukraine has been liberated. Vladimir Zhirshkolomov has claimed. Ukraine forces in Kursk regions, Western Russia has been encircled and isolated. Chief of the General Staff, Valery Zhirshkolomov, if I pronounce his name right, said on Tuesday. He added that 80% of the territory has been liberated and that the systematic destruction of enemy forces is underway. That's another signs of wars and rumors of wars. Matthew 24 verse 6 and verse 7. It says Russia MPs declared war on extra-private services. And this is a news article from March the 12th, 2025. And it reads from RT.com. It says 4 civilians killed in a Ukrainian attack, Kursk government reports. Kursk forces hit a feeding processing plant in the area, according to the regional pass head of Ascalon, Kyrgyzstan. 4 people have been killed and 2 others wounded in a Ukrainian missile strike that hit a feed processing plant in Kursk region's western Russia. Local government Alexander Konstan has said, if I pronounce his name right. The attack on Wednesday morning targeted a facility in the village of Kolskovka and Kyrgyzstan, wrote in a post on Telegram. According to the first reports of 4 employees of the feeding process plant were killed, including 3 men and 1 woman. He said, and another worker who previously who another worker was seriously wounded in the strike and rushed to a hospital while the colleagues who suffered minor injuries were treated on the spot. The governor added. Khashoggi said that the attack on civilians is a sign of that Korean authorities are in a state of agony. The government has expressed condolences to the families of the victims, promising that they will provide with all necessary assistance to support the Kursk Regional Administration. One of the workshops at the plant was completely destroyed in the strike, with others' properties also suffering damage, he said. On Monday, 4 people were killed and several others wounded when Ukrainian forces targeted a shopping center in the village of Belira in the Baskovia district. The next day, it says the next day, Russia repels the largest Ukraine drone says since the escalation between the two countries in February 2022, which involved 337 UAVs. The intensification of the attacks come amid setbacks suffered of Korean troops in Kursk regions where they have been conducting an incursion since August of 2024. On Tuesday, the Russian Defense Ministries announced that the liberation of 12 villages around the towns of Suzkulosia, the largest settlement controlled by Ukraine in the area. It's the book of Matthews. It's the book of Matthew 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. It's the book of Revelations. It's the book of Revelations 11, verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. This is the prophet Joel. Chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this summer of the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, like all the men of war, draw near, let them come up. Joel 3, verse 10. Beat your plowshares with swords and the plumbing hooks and the spears, like the wheat sounds grown. And once again, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 8. In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, a time of peace. It says J.P. Morgan sounds the recession alarm. It says this is from March the 12th, 2025. It reads J.P. Morgan sounds the alarm. J.P. Morgan sounds U.S. recession alarm. President Trump's trade policies could undermine the country's economic growth, according to the investment bank. The U.S. President and Donald Trump trade policies could dent the country's economic growth and the risk of a recession this year. J.P. Morgan has warned. It says the investments in banks and chief global economic Bruce Cashman told the reporters in Singapore on Wednesday there is about 40% chance of a U.S. recession in 2025. He cautioned that if Trump's proposal reciprocal tariffs on key trade partners take effect in April, the risk could rise further and the hurt of the country's appeal as a place for investment. Where we stand now is a heightened concern about the U.S. economy, Cashman said, adding that he had no adjust any of his forecasts. At the start of the year, Cashman initially estimated at 30% recession risk, but this had since risen to 40%. Could exceed to 50% if the tariffs take full effect, he said. J.P. Morgan currently forecasts that the U.S. economic grows by 2% for 2025, but the projection has yet be revised. Economics at Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley has lowered the growth projections to 1.7% and to 1.5% respectively for this year. Trump's sweeping tariff measures have rattled U.S. stock markets yet for the past 2 weeks. It says investors struggles to determine whether the levies of permit or a negotiation tactic. In February, Trump announced plans to impose tariffs on the key trading partners. in order to protect Americans' interests. Last week, he had raised tariffs on all imports from Mexico and Canada to 25%, and the double duties on all Chinese goods to 20% before delaying some interest increasing until April the 2nd. Trump has threatened to impose a global, regional, and reciprocal tariffs, warning that from April the 2nd, every country will face the same levy it imposed on U.S. goods. A 25% on imports of steel and aluminum took effect on Wednesday, and the European Union and Canada responded with the reciprocal tariffs. It says when asked by Fox News in an interview aired on Sunday whether the United States was facing a recession, Trump said it was a transitional period, adding that we are bringing wealth back to America. It's that Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 7. Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all that are drunken. The nations have drunk for wine, therefore the nations are mad. Jeremiah 51 verse 8. Babylon is fallen. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take on her pain so that she may be healed. Jeremiah 51 verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, let us guard everyone's his own country, for the judge reach the heavens and sleep up into the skies. And this is Revelations 18 verse 2. And he cried mighty with a strong voice, saying, Babylon is fallen, is fallen. It's become a habitation of Syrians, and they hold every foul spirit and cage every unclean HAT and every bird. And this is Revelations 14 verse 8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all the nations drink the wine of wrath for fornication. Revelations 14 verse 9. And the third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast as he in his image, and whosoever and receiveth his MARK in his forehead or in his hand. So as it says once again, J.P. Morgan sounds the recession alarm. J.P. Morgan sounds a U.S. recession alarm. Right, as I brought up that Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, 51 verse 7 to verse 9, and Revelation 18 verse 2. It says drone takes out Ukrainian forces in Kurdish region. And this is a news article. This is a news article from RT.com. It reads, as of March the 12th, 2025, as we've been seeing the increasing alliance between Russia and China, Iran, and North Korea as well, too, as I add a side note to that. It says Russia will never betray China, Lavrov mentions. Moscow will honor all its committees to Beijing, unlike the West, and its promise to USSR, the foreign minister has asserted. It says Russia deeply values its relationships with China and its commitment to fulfilling all obligations to its partners. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said in an interview the U.S. podcaster conducted English release on Wednesday. Russia's top diplomatic asked to comment on claims that former President Joe Biden has made a strategic blunt by pushing Russia closer to China through Washington's response to the Ukraine conflict. The Americans know that we will not betray our committee's legal commitments, but also, the political commitments which we developed with Chinese. The top diplomatic assured we never had the relations with China which were that good and that confident that the long-term built and will be enjoying support of peoples both countries, he added. The interview suggested that U.S. President Donald Trump approaches replicates Richard Nixon's historical 1972 reapproachment with China that ensured a continual of the Sino-Soviet split. The current circumstances are radically different from those in the 1970s, Sukov insisted. Go to the time of Israel. It says the IDF launches manhunt after Israeli civilian shot near the Northwest Bank settlement. It says in the apparent softened positions, Trump says nobody is expelling any Palestinians in court. Prime Minister banged on the table to protest order to hurry up. It's lower in his voice. Let's go to the Associated Press. Check out some more prophecy updates. It says live. This is from the Associated Press. It says live updates. Trump's tariffs on steel goes into effect, prompting retaliation from Canada and the EU. Right, it goes into that St. Mark, the third chapter. It says Trump vows to take back stolen wealth as tariff on steel and aluminum push goes into effect. It says the Wall Street keeps shaking and stocks are waved between gaining and losing as Trump trade wars escalate. Yep, since that been mentioned, get back to that St. Mark, the third chapter. It's the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom will not stand. Right, so we're going to be seeing economical wars, trade wars, even though Trump has eased some of it all the way until April the 2nd. So once April 2nd goes up, it's going to come back into full effect. So they're going to have more trade wars, more economical wars, and that's what we're seeing between the nations. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. St. Mark 3, verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. Right, so if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. It says U.S. armed flows to Ukraine again as the Kremlin moves a ceasefire proposal. It says this comes day after the Trump administration lifted the suspensions of military aid in its war against Russia and Ukraine. Officials say that they are open to a 30-day ceasefire backed by Washington. It says Trump vows to take back stolen wealth as tariffs on steel and aluminum imports goes into effect. It says pressed to accept a ceasefire in Ukraine, who seems likely to seek his own conditions. It says Pakistan says insurgents who attacked a passenger train killed 21 hostages while others freed. It says they crossed the wall to reach the U.S. now deported under Trump. They struck in Panama. Now we're seeing Europe now we're seeing as of lately the division increasing between the EU and the Western countries, especially the United States and the EU, as Trump poses that those tariffs on steel and aluminum products. And this is a no, no, on the phone. Yeah, doing this video recording stuff. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you just the most just woke up. Especially Rob. He go Rob. It says the European Union. It says the EU announced countermeasures to U.S. tariffs. A European Commissioner, President Ursula von der Leyen, announced the retaliatory trade actions after. Yeah, what's this? I find this kind of odd because don't the United States supposed to be allies with the European Union and Canada as well too? It's kind of because Trump has accused Canada for stealing wealth from the United States with these importing and exporting goods. So that's only going to stir up more trade wars between these nations. And that goes into that St. Mark, the third chapter. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. So we're going to be seeing more trade wars and more economical wars between these nations and modern day kingdoms. It says the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced the retaliatory trade actions after the Trump administration officially increased tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports 25%, while duties on industrials and agricultural products will go into effect on April the 1st. The EU measures will cover goods from the United States worth some 26 billion in euros and 28 billion, and not just the steels and aluminum products, but also techlatized home appliance and agricultural goods. Yep. And this goes into that Luke 21, verse 25, and it reads, it says, gunfire comes from everywhere. Passengers recall the Pakistani insurgents assault on train. And this is published on March the 11th, 2025. It says a man who released from a train that was attacked by Pakistani insurgents described the chaotic scene aboard the militants launched their assault. Get into that Luke the 21st chapter, then I'm closing out. This is Luke 21 verse 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. Distress of nations will perplex Caesar's work. Right, as we see an increasing uncertainty of the distress of nations will perplex Caesar's work, which is going to increase more seditions and more uprisings and more uproar speaking the world. Like it says in 2 Edges verse 3, there should be seeing earthquakes and uproar speaking the world. More wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. That goes into ethnos of nations rise against one another. That's what we're seeing. So with that, hopefully this Sitdown lesson was edifying of the prophecy updates as of March the 12th, 2025 on this Wednesday afternoon. So hopefully this was edifying. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory now to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem HaKadosh. And the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem, and the name of Mashiach Yahushua. Those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Alash Wakadash tongue. When I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, will Akim or Akwaf. Until next time, I would say Shalom.